All right, so I'm going to go through how to set up the rotate louver by image with Dynamo and Revit. So we're using imported CAD lines. You could create your own lines in Revit, but in this case we're going to create our lines from CAD. So I'm going to go to Family and New, and I am going to navigate to the generic model adaptive. And it's important that you use a generic model adaptive for this because it allows the curves to stay in one piece. So I'm opening up the generic model adaptive, and I'm very quickly going to change the graphic display options to get rid of the gradient background just because it's easier to deal with. All right, then I'm going to go to Insert, Import CAD, go get my curves, click Open, and you'll see that I have an imported CAD drawing with curves in it. There are 3 curves. I'm just going to pick that, and I'm going to partial explode it. So partial explode. Now you'll see that it gives me each one of those lines as individual selections, as a complete line. So I'm just going to pick this interior line, and I'm going to divide that path. It's going to divide it into 6 equal parts, and I'm going to divide it into, let's see, I think 117 gets us, as close to 6 inches as we can on that line. You'll just have to use the divisions and get as close as you can. There's really no way in this case to get it to be exactly 6 inches. So that's as close as we can get. Once we have that, we want to place an adaptive component on this and repeat it. So I've created an adaptive component, this 1-point louver. And basically what this is an adaptive component that if I view hide this, right, and let's change this to 0.5. Click OK. So basically what I've got is a vertical line that's created, that's been hosted to one of these vertical planes. And I placed a point on that line for the sole reason that I can select that point and access the rotation angle of it. And then on that point, I've created another line that comes out that's hosted on that point. And so when that point rotates, that line rotates. So for example, if I come in and change, it's going to be a little difficult to do, but change this rotation to 34 and apply, you'll see that rotate, right? So I'm just going to set it back to 0. There are also some, there's a parameter that controls the height and a parameter that controls the width. So the width is controlled by the length of that line that has a parameter on it. And then if I reset the temporary height isolate, this extrusion from that line is controlled with a parameter set here. I'm going to go back and set that point to 0, so it'll move it back down to the bottom of the line. And that's what we've got. There's also a material parameter on here. So I'm just going to load that into the project. And it comes in, and if I place it on the top part of one of these points, so this line at the top, it will work as far as the repeat. So I place it on one of those blue points. Oh, actually, I missed the blue point, so let's delete that. If you mess it up and you need to get the family again, you can expand your generic models. And so I want to make sure that it's on one of those blue points. Pick that and then repeat it. Once I have that done, I'm ready for the Dynamo definition. So I'm going to go to Manage and start Dynamo. And that guy will start up. And I'll bring this in. And let's see if we can zoom out and get over here. Now I've created this rotate louvers by image. And it's provided in the YouTube. You can download it. But basically it goes and gets an image, divides that image up, samples it in one row based on the count of the families that it's going to count every single one of those. And then there's a little stuff we have to go through because Dynamo's and Revit are a little weird. I'm not going to talk about that. But then eventually it takes the brightness, we were at the brightness from 0 to 90, and it pushes those values into the angle parameter that I created for that point. So if I run this, it'll go through and it will rotate each one of those. Now, so you can see based on this, it should be open because that would be closer to 1. That's 0, and the remap remaps the ones and zeros to 0 and 90. So that's open. And then it should get more closed, but we get some weird rotations in here. And what happens is it starts flipping itself when it gets across the line. So unfortunately, Revit has some of these issues. So I'm going to delete this. And then I'm going to pull this out and place it on the other side on one of the blue dots there. And I'm going to repeat it from over here. And then I'm going to run the definition. And it's going to work. And I'm not, I don't have any good reasons. I mean, there are reasons because it flips itself as it goes around the curve, and the way that the lines are drawn may have something to do with that as well. But here you can see they're more open. They get more closed as you move around the object, right? So, and if we look at it from the reference level, right, you can see open, closed, and then begins to open again as you get towards the end. There's a couple of anomalies in this one, but that's pretty much it. If I go back to the 3D view, one thing I did want to tell you is I'm using a surface here, so it doesn't really have, it's pretty quick. You can, like I came in, and if I go to File and open this 1-point louver solid, I also made a solid louver, so it has some thickness to it. And if I load that into project, right, it'll load it in and it'll want to place it, but I don't really want to place it. I just want to go to my 3D view again. And if I pick this, I can then flip it out for the solid louver. And it should put that solid louver in. Then I have to come in and change this to the 1-point louver solid. And then I should be able to run this one, and it should do it. But it'll take longer because the solids are a little bit heavier, but it'll do the same thing. So I would suggest working with a surface before you get to the solid one. Okay. All right, so that's it.